a lot of the techniques that we use in Australia. So there's some similarities in the administration. The tax systems are similar in some ways as well. Both countries are looking at whether or not they have enough base for of people paying tax to fund government services, and how you find that and how you do that in a way that keeps the competitiveness of the countries is always a challenge.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, when we look at tax, and tax is always a thorny issue, I imagine, around the world, but I know South Africa because that's all we ever talk about. Whenever you're sitting around the dining table and everybody says, I pay my taxes, and what do I get for them? I pay my taxes, and I see them being misused by government officials, or there's always that feeling among South Africans. I'm not sure if it's the same here in Australia, but let's just talk about that. How South Africans feel, Stiaan, about their taxes and their misused taxes. How talk to me about this picture.
Yeah, it's actually quite closely linked, taxpayer morality and, for example, how government use that money to deliver the services and goods that they're mandated by the voters to do and to execute. So issues like political scandals have a direct impact on taxpayer behavior and compliance behavior. And now with filing season around the corner, it would be interesting to, SARS are working very hard in developing a great compliance culture. They've developed, Pravin Gordhan, a former commissioner and minister, imported, like Micheal mentioned, a lot of international best practice into the country. It's now to sustain that basis going forward.
Yeah. So would you find that we're moving into the tax season, would you find that if your people are feeling, this is it, I don't want to pay my taxes and I'm going to try and do everything to fix them and do whatever, if they are not happy citizens, does it reflect in the tax filing season?
It does.
It does.
It does. However, practitioners obviously are professionals. They are bound by a code of conduct, so they therefore have to advise clients in the appropriate fashion and manner to comply with the law. So obviously tax practitioners are not allowed in terms of the professionalism to they should actually facilitate compliance.
Absolutely. We were talking about the population and the amount of taxpayers in the population. Here in South Africa, we've got a population of around about 52 million people. 16 million people only pay taxes. Australia, it's a very different picture. 20 million people, 10 million pay taxes. What do you think this imbalance does to a society?
Well, I think taxes, the more you can share the burden, the less the burden is on each individual. So the wider the net, the less each individual has to pay. So there is an issue there for who carries that burden, and if they don't like to carry it, then there's a big risk for the country. Yeah,
indeed it is a big risk. Do you think that South Africa sits in a risky situation?
Well, I think as Stiaan said, SARS has done a good job in modernising itself over the last 10 years, and the real trick now is trying to make sure that people understand the importance of tax and are part and parcel of the solution rather than the problem. And that's a hard job.
It is a hard job. I can give one example. You look at e-tolls, and that was possibly one of the biggest cases that we've seen here in South Africa, where people say, I'm already paying for my roads.
Correct.
Yeah. This is in my taxes. Why must I now pay? And people are boycotting that. And I think this is probably one of the biggest instances of taxes versus no taxes. Am I right here? Is that the idea?
Absolutely, there's a revolt. Taxpayers are actually saying enough is enough. I want bang for my buck. They contribute. Yes, we do have past issues that we need to fix, the apartheid past and the unequal society that we've got. But then again, and I think that's why President Zuma made a wise decision to actually deploy Finance Minister Gordhan from the Finance Ministry to local government, because he's got a big task.
Very big task. Gentlemen, it's been interesting. Thank you very much for coming in, and I hope that the rest of it goes well. When does it end?
Friday.
On Friday. Are members of the public allowed to go as well?
Yep.
Okay, so it's happening until Friday. Is it at the Sandton Convention Centre?
Correct.
All right, Sandton Convention Centre. You can go down there, and it's a Tax Indaba, basically, if you want to call it that, taking place in Sandton. Thank you so much for being with us, Micheal D'Ascenzo. He is the former Commissioner of Australian Tax Office, and Stiaan Klue. He's the CEO of the SA Institute of Tax Professionals. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.